An investigation by the BBC finds out that the Israeli military lied about its involvement in the flower massacre in northern Gaza in the early hours of Thursday. The investigation points out that Israel released edited footage concealing parts where BBC can provide gunfire was heard. Here are the Israeli military vehicles. This is the direction of the convoy. Here are all the dead people that were murdered by Israeli gunshots.
Joining us now is Lieutenant Colonel Richard Hecht, the spokesperson for the Israeli Defense Forces. Lieutenant Colonel, thank you very much for being with us this morning. Just want to start with, can you clarify, did Israeli forces open fire on civilians waiting for aid on Thursday?
So thank you for having me. This is not the case. And again, I'll just jump on to what Raf Sanchez said. We did not intentionally open fire on the mob that basically tried to...
the animals. We did not open fire on the animals.
Reach these trucks. Again, this is a tragic event where you can see from the footage...
He is Scottish, chat. He is.
...that we released that...
yeah, they just keep unintentionally using sniper rifles on children, women, medical personnel. It's just always unintentional, though. BBC October 12, 2005, IDF appeal in Supreme Court ruling banning use of Palestinian human shields in raids. IDF to appeal human shield ban. The Israeli Defense Ministry will appeal against the Supreme Court ruling banning the use of Palestinian human shields in raids. Yeah, the human shield one is like a perfect case of pure projection, by the way, because Israel literally uses Palestinians. Like, they will straight up trot out a Palestinian person that they've apprehended in front of them when they're doing raids in the West Bank. They still do that, by the way. Here's a more recent usage of like direct meat shields.
The people that came looking for food, it was a stampede, very, very tragic, but we did not open fire on, and you can see this now running in the background, we did not open fire on the crowd during that event. There was one specific event at the end of the convoy where our soldiers... some of the Gazans approached our soldiers. They felt threatened, and they fired non-lethal shots.
Just cop shit, dude. Some of our soldiers felt threatened, so they opened fucking fire. You know, there's nothing more dangerous to our soldiers than a Palestinian baby. Disgusting freak, dude. Locking 2018 in the Great March of Return, our snipers felt threatened, so they shot a medic and a pregnant lady through her stomach.
Sadly and tragically, the most of the death cases, and again, I would take the numbers with a pinch of salt, were from this tragic stampede.
So let's, what would qualify as non-lethal shots being fired? And I'm just thinking, if we take any of the evidence that seems to be being put forward by different, for example, video sources, we're looking at that Al Jazeera video that says that people were...
Al Jazeera is Hamas. You know? Motherfuckers from Edinburgh.
Being taken to the hospital with gunshot wounds. That's not a stampede wound. That's a gunshot wound. And what exactly is non-lethal?
Palestinians were shooting themselves to make Israel look bad, while Israel was the one shooting at the Palestinians because we were scared. That's what it is. We were scared. That's why we shot at them. The bullet wounds were fake. Is Pallywood
fire?
Non-lethal fire is when, again, we were securing this convoy in order to facilitate the movement of food to the north. This is
Yeah. Gaza doctor says gunfire accounted for 80% of the wounds at his hospital from the aid convoy bloodshed. Doctors are Hamas. Why is mainstream media trying to look like they're siding with Israel now when they were promoting pro-Israel propaganda? There is a number. There's a number out there, and I think we've reached that number. Apparently it's 30,000 for some. For some it was 100. For others it was 1,000. For some it was 20,000. The number is 30,000 for many mainstream outlets, and they are recognizing that this has gone on for far too long, which it has. And they're still, for the record, being as friendly as they physically can. But at least nowadays, they're like providing counters. IDF spokespersons 3 months ago would go on, like that dipshit Frankenstein, Jonathan Concuncrius, or whatever his name is, with that Frankenstein dome, that dip would go on and be like, yeah, we had to kill them because they are Palestinian Hamas babies. And Jake Tapper would be like, huh, okay, huh, very good. Huh, okay. The Polk Awards confirmed to me that the New York Times story screams without words how Hamas weaponized sexual violence on October 7th is included in the coverage that won a Polk Award for foreign reporting. We stand by our award for foreign reporting at the Times. This is just straight up, just does not meet the muster of the New York Times, like their self-imposed restrictions. It is so controversial that there's internal struggle within the New York Times about its release. And yet, you know, reputable George Polk Awards for journalism, like Pulitzer Prize and other prizes are still being afforded, still being given to ridiculous pieces of propaganda that are devoid of factually accurate information. Yeah. Another photo from the same soldier's TikTok account of another genre favored by IDF soldiers pics with displaced dead Palestinians' women's clothing items. This is the new meta. They go through like different waves. I Really Hate You does a phenomenal job of documenting this stuff. This is the new meta now. Before it was like the same knock knock joke where it'd be like, hello, knock knock. Why is no one opening the door? Is there Hamas behind the door? And then the camera would pan away and it was like a bombed out kindergarten or some shit. Now the most moral army in the world is doing this shit. New York Times did this as a treat yesterday. Oh my God. Yesterday's New York Times crossword, the day of the flower massacre in Gaza. Gaza, meal, Zatar. Jesus Christ. There you go. What more do you want? They're recognizing it. Think this will be in textbooks the same way they show what happened in the Holocaust, what happened to Jewish belongings in the Holocaust? It depends. It's either going to go the way of like America and the indigenous ethnic cleansing campaigns that the United States of America engaged in, where we just whitewash it and say that they were barbaric, or it's going to go the way of adequate coverage. Probably not the second thing though, because there are a lot of genocides that are unfortunately contested. You know what I mean? So who knows? We're
in a war. This is a combat zone. The soldiers are, again, we're losing soldiers every day in this fight. We're aware of the humanitarian condition in the north. Again, non-lethal fires when we are securing the convoy. People came too near our soldiers. They felt threatened. They would maybe take...
What? That's delusion. If you think that a Muslim using fighting jihad just wants to say he's tanking an effort beefing a good Muslim, wait, what? The word Nazi also just means nationalistic-oriented socialism and has an inherently neutral meaning, but due to the history of what it stands for, its meaning is totally a different one than the word itself implies. I argue the same goes for jihad, at least in the West. Did you just compare a tenet of religion that just simply means struggle to National Socialism, which is inherently an oxymoronic sentiment that was utilized for the purposes of Holocaust, like conducting a Holocaust? What the fuck? Bro, this is why I say kill the reactionary inside of you, okay? There's like a little demon inside of you that's like, no, I promise, like explain to me. Yes, words and their meanings can change. The problem is you're literally fucking looking at National Socialism, which is a political movement, which it inherently is at odds with one another. Nationalism versus socialism, which historically was utilized, the political terminology was utilized by people who were anti-socialist, for the record. I don't know if you know the old poem that goes, first they killed the socialists, I did not speak out for I was not a socialist, versus just a different language, like a word used in a different language that has its tenets in struggle for your faith. The overwhelming majority of practicing Muslims do not mean they're doing jihad when they're just practicing their faith and utilizing the Wahhabist interpretation of it or the Salafist interpretation of the word. That is a marginal group that was propped up as though they were the representatives of Islam globally. You are unfortunately blinded by how out of touch you are to say these things. I am not arguing with you on facts. I am arguing against your delusions that were socially fed to you. That's the problem. It's the reality. Again, I am arguing not against actual information that you are presenting, but instead arguing against what you think is the case. I'm arguing against your bigoted beliefs in this circumstance. This is the same exact thing I talk about all the fucking time. Yeah, jihad is literally like a name in Turkey. You know what I mean? Like people are named jihad, for example. So that is what Hamas is doing. Oh, I'm going to lose my mind. Hamas is engaging in a struggle against a violent apartheid ethno-state that is currently conducting ethnic cleansing. Okay, it is a form of struggle. That's it. That is what they're doing. It is very different than someone like an ISIS member saying that they are engaging in jihad by killing a bunch of fucking Muslims in an area that they are occupying. If you think ISIS is more representative of jihad than jihad in the way that it actually is utilized in the language, in the Muslim languages, different languages of nations that are Islamic or believe in Islam, I don't know what to tell you. There are people named jihad, for example. Do you think that they were named that because that implies that they want to strap a suicide vest on themselves and blow themselves up at an American forward operating base? Jihad means to struggle through. Saying jihad has a negative connotation is saying Allahu Akbar has a negative connotation, which is a racist thing to state. Exactly. What is this? It is the disambiguous. This is literally what jihad, the Wikipedia page for the word jihad. The word jihad appears frequently in the Quran with and without military connotations, often in the idiomatic expression striving in the path of God, conveying a sense of self-exertion. He said, what is this? The term jihad is derived from the Arabic root jahada. Yes, atheist Arabs also use the word jihad. Just like Allah means God in Arabic, that's it. Because as far as I'm aware, Hamas is rated a terrorist organization. Well, so was the IRA, and so was the ANC. America's terrorist designation doesn't always get it right. Nelson Mandela was on the terror watch list until 2008. Look at what is actually happening, and you will understand a little bit better. I don't want to defend Israel. I hate what they're doing. I don't really understand what you're saying here. This is absolutely not a single person is saying that you should be defending Israel or that you are defending Israel. You are lending defense to Israeli sentiment, the Israeli government's opinions, by making it seem like Hamas, a terror organization, is conducting a holy war against Israel because they're anti-Semitic. That is not true. I don't think what Hamas did was right either. October 7 definitely had its fair share of atrocities, acts of terror against a civilian population. Everything Hamas has done since October 7, as far as resisting, and it wasn't just Hamas that did it, by the way, it was the entirety of the Palestinian resistance forces. It was a coalition. It wasn't just Hamas. It's just a convenient way to just say, like, it's just Hamas doing it, and they're a terrorist cell. They're a terrorist organization. You keep getting one guide. Please stop getting one guide. I think it's instructive and informative for me to explain with certainty what is going on so that, there are other people here that will also be able to understand it. Not a bad thing. These are very commonplace opinions that many normal people have. Here's a funny story, chat. I'm a Palestinian citizen of Israel. My dad's name is Jihad. Once he worked for a Jewish company, they made him change his name to Jojo. There's absolutely fucking not one guy. They're in here like crazy. Yeah. Bro, it's crazy how some of you motherfuckers care this much about this shit when in fact politics had no impact on 90% of your daily lives. Yes. It is this attitude that causes politicians to be able to fucking keep destroying your life as you know it. Politics has had a 100% impact on your life, dummy. It absolutely has. The fuck do you mean? If you got potholes in your neighborhood when you're driving your car, that's politics. Politics is a consequence of why that pothole is not being fixed. Because all that funding is going to the cops instead. That's politics. Smart as liberal, yeah. The only people that think politics does not actually have no impact on your daily lives are people who are deluded and think that that is not the case. It's great. Politics, of course, has an infinitely larger role in your life if you are not in the comfortable in-group either. There is no part of your life where politics doesn't play a role.
Take non-lethal shots to try and distance them from them. Again, I would take the numbers coming out, and again, we're looking into this event. The numbers coming out from the Hamas health agency with a pinch of salt. We're looking into this. We are aware of this severe event, and we're taking it very, very seriously.
The UN and France are both demanding an independent investigation into what happened. Will Israel, you think, support this?
We do not need any other country to launch investigations. We have the means and will to do this ourselves.
Yeah. He's like, don't launch an investigation into the acts of Israel. We'll do it ourselves. We are notorious. I'm lying to you right now on national television. We notoriously have never lied, including right at this moment. Yeah. Palestinian eyewitnesses, Palestinian doctors, and Israel's own national security minister disagree with you, Elon. Blood libel. That's so funny. Dude, all you do when you say this is blood libel is lend credence. Okay? You are bastardizing blood libel and what it actually means. It is losing its historical significance. It's disgusting and it's fucking anti-Semitic.
And again, I just want to remind everyone here, this is a war zone. We're doing everything we can. We're trying to facilitate other ideas.
We're doing everything we can to kill babies. There's literally a video from Al Jazeera of them shooting at the convoy. You can see the tracers. I don't know if I can show this. This might be TOS. Okay, I mean, you see the tracers pretty quickly before any casualties. Yeah. Wonder how that happened.
As Raf mentioned it before, things from the air. We're still.
Dude, you don't understand. Those tracers are actually non-lethal tracers.
Fighting to dismantle Hamas. This would end in a minute if Hamas laid down their weapons and brought the hostages back to Israel. In a minute.
Yeah, and so where do you, from the IDF perspective, go from here as far as trying to determine what Israel had as far as a responsibility in this incident or not?
Well, I'm very aware of international law, and then there was people saying once you occupy an area.
Yeah, and I'm well aware of the international law, and honestly, it's Hamas raw international law.
You have to make sure that food is there. There's still a war going on, and we do not want to occupy the Gaza Strip. We want to dismantle Hamas. But again, we're not fighting the Palestinian people who Hamas is.
Even though I'm contextualizing why we did have to fight these Palestinian people, looking at
taken as a human shield.
Flour
and we'll keep repeating that sentence because that is the tragedy and the cynical use of Hamas of their people. We're doing everything we can to move food. And again, there's an issue here with.
No, he's not. They're not, by the way. They're objectively not. Food is being held up inside of Israel and at border points. 1,000%. It's a fucking lie. Elon Levy, let's set the record straight. IDF forces did not shoot at the convoy. IDF forces did not shoot at people looting the trucks. IDF forces used fire when masses ran towards them in a way that threatened their lives. They were there in the first place to secure the convoy. My heart goes out to all the civilians who got trampled in a stampede and run over by Gazan truck drivers. I can't imagine the desperation of knowing the Hamas terror regime is hijacking vital aid while UNRWA covers it up. Demon.
Distribution. It's not with the quantity of amount of food going in. The distribution to the north is a challenge, and that's what we're trying to facilitate and come up with creative ideas to get food up north to the poor Gazan people.
And Lieutenant Colonel, right now there are about 1.4 million civilians in Rafah with Israel's deadline of March 10th for a potential invasion there. How does what happened, for example, yesterday, play a role in maybe disrupting talks, for example, on the hostages that are still being held by Hamas?
Well, I'm a military man, and again, I would tell you that we're also very, very attentive to the voices about and the concerns about the 1.4 people in Rafah. And I will just quote my Prime Minister, who said we will not act aggressively in that area without finding a solution for the civilian population there. We did it in the north.
A final solution.
And we can do it also in the south. I would just mention to you that we did a specific event in Rafah, which was a special forces raid to save 2 of our hostages inside Rafah.
Lieutenant Colonel Richard.
Israel has again stopped talks on a ceasefire. New. Israel tells Qatar and Egypt no more talks until Hamas provides list of hostages still alive in Gaza. My story on Axios. Sad but good that they stand on their grounds. Hasn't there been Israeli public blockades of Palestinian aid trucks? Yes. Dude, it's a deeply unwell nation. They are deeply unwell. Straight up. Really fucked up.
For joining us tonight. It's good to see you. Look, Israel, as we just laid out in the last few hours, have tried to frame this as a tragedy, but just not one that is their fault. The IDF says it fired warning shots to try to disperse the crowd around that convoy. Do you lend any credibility to that explanation? And from the eyes of the world, does it matter what the explanation is for what we saw unfold?
Well, Abby, thanks so much for having me on the show, and thank you for that very important, very powerful intro you did just there. In terms of believing the Israelis, I would say that it took multiple innocent black people to die at the hands of police in this country, whether it's Breonna Taylor, whether it's Freddie Gray, whether it's George Floyd, for people in our industry, Abby, to start saying, well, maybe we shouldn't just blindly believe police statements after shootings happen. And I feel like we still haven't quite reached that point in the Middle East with the Israeli military. The Israeli military tend to say things that turn out not to be true, both before Gaza, when they killed Shireen Abu Akleh, a U.S.
Wait, what? The protesters literally stormed into northern Gaza? I didn't see this. A group of settler activists violently breached a military checkpoint near the Erez border crossing and entered the Gaza Strip earlier today, the IDF says. Oh, that's awesome. No, that's great, dude. No. Keep that coming. No. Keep that energy. That's not a bad thing, actually. No. Go get in there, dude. Get in there. They will absolutely get fucking killed. If they were allowed inside, they would get killed by the IDF. It wouldn't even be Hamas. It would be IDF that fucking kills them. I didn't even know this happened. Holy shit. Disgusting. Someone's definitely clipping that. I don't give a shit. But it will definitely lead to the Israeli occupying force slaughtering them. It will either lead to, one, more hostages for any kind of Palestinian resistance group, or two, it will lead to the Israeli occupying force just fucking murking them.
מתחילים את המהלך עד הניצחון. עד הניצחון. זורים שדות במקום גדרות.
Gross. Freaks. Why would the Israeli occupying force kill them? Hello? Anyone and everyone inside of Gaza is an enemy combatant. That much is clear. They've already fucking presented as that. They've literally killed their own fucking hostages, dog. The hell are you talking about? I mean, even inside of Israel, they killed their own fucking, they killed their own citizens. Bro, the IDF is scared of their own goddamn shadow. They keep killing their own people. They keep killing their own soldiers. They keep killing their own hostages. Lord knows how many fucking hostages have already been murked by bombs.
Today, also, we're going to discuss the Middle East and yesterday's tragic and alarming event in North Gaza, trying to get humanitarian assistance in there. And the loss of life is heartbreaking. People are so desperate that innocent people got caught in a terrible war, unable to feed their families, and you saw the response when they tried to get aid in. And we need to do more, and the United States will do more. In the coming days, we're going to join with our friends in Jordan and others in providing airdrops of additional food and supplies into Ukraine and seek to continue to open up other avenues.
Bro, it's because everybody thinks he's like misspeaking, but no, actually, they're getting the Jordanian Royal Air Force to drop supplies in Ukraine, actually. Yeah, it wasn't a misspeak, dude. Oh my God. Sitting across from this fucking demon is pretty funny too.
Into Ukraine, including the possibility of a Marine corridor to deliver large amounts of humanitarian assistance. In addition to expanding deliveries by land, as I said, we're gonna insist that Israel facilitate more trucks and more routes to get more and more people the help they need. No excuses, because the truth is, aid flowing to Gaza is nowhere nearly enough. Now, it's nowhere nearly enough. Innocent lives are on the line, and children's lives are on the line. I mean, we won't stand by and let until we get more aid in there. We should be getting.
Hamas's Qassam brigades announced that it confirmed the killings of 7 captives in an Israeli bombing of Gaza, following investigations conducted over the past weeks after it losing contact with the fighters who had been holding them. There you go. I mean, what do you think was going to happen? BBC verified piece on this. What video and eyewitness accounts tell us about Gazans killed at the aid drop? 3 of the hostages killed were the old men who were featured in one of the previous Hamas propaganda videos. The 7 captive story is what's spammed with as a retort to the war crime story I shared. But that's Israel killing them. It's no different than Israel just using fucking conventional weapons on Israeli hostages that had escaped and were trying to be saved by IDF and got shot. It's no different. It's just less personal because it's a bomb being dropped, but it's still Israel that killed them. If Hamas, what? This makes no sense. How could hostages in a bombing zone be killed by bombs in a bombing zone? Exactly. That's what I said, but she still says it's Hamas's fault. Well, they're fucking delusional. I don't know what to tell you. Ask them how hostages were released during the ceasefire period, then if it's Hamas's fault. All right, we're gonna move on from this stuff.